Viv, can you tell us more about that connection between the soul and the body? I know that you love, I can't say the word, analogies. There we go, analogies. Can you tell us more about that and give us some of these analogies, if that's okay?
Yes. So the soul exists. It's a creation of God. And our body exists, and that's been created by God, we would say. One comes from the world of dust, the other comes from the spiritual worlds of God. And the soul itself then, it links with the body and the brain like the sun can link with a mirror. Now, I'll come back to that in a second. So one of the first things we pick up is that the soul is not in the body. It can't live in the body. The essence of the soul is, even the most intelligent people can't understand the essence of our soul. But that is further down the line to discuss, I think. I'm just thinking that the mirror now is like the body and the sun is like the soul. So we can see that the sun is not in the mirror, but it can reflect the mirror. It has an effect upon the mirror. If the mirror is a wholesome mirror, then it can reflect, or it can pick up the emanations from the soul, just like the sun can be picked up in the mirror. So the soul itself then, because it doesn't come into anything or go out of anything, when we pass away, when the body dies, it doesn't leave the body, it just leaves its connection with the body. Just like we can say the connection between the physical body and the womb of its mother at the time of birth is disconnected from the placenta. The one is left behind, the other goes on at the time of death. But the soul itself there is always radiating as long as we have a physical body and it's functioning, no matter to what degree of disability it may have. If it's still connected, if we're still alive, the soul is still connected with the body. And that primarily has its effect as well upon the brain, because all the functions of the body go through the brain. But it's the soul itself which is animating, supplying the power for that, supplying the directions for it, and so on. So, for instance, with the body itself, we have the autonomic system, where so many functions take place without being consciously aware of it. For instance, our circulatory system, our digestive system, our lymphatic system, our endocrine system, all these are operating without giving due thought to it and saying, well, I got to give more thought to that to keep it going. It functions primarily unconsciously, but it still functions as the work from the soul itself. The brain now, as an organ, has a connection with all the things to do with the body, but it also has a connection to do with thinking. And this is the next bit we need to look into a little.
I'm glad my digestive system works pretty well. That's interesting, because what you're saying as well is you're saying that the soul is infinite, right? It continues for eternity.
Eternity, yeah. It carries on existing for eternity, yeah.
Fantastic, yeah. So, yeah, eternity. That's really interesting. Let's move on a bit now. Before we move on to the next subject, Viv, have you highlighted everything that you wanted to say about the brain before we move on to the next parts?
Well, yes, we've forgotten the most important bit of this conversation.
Oh, no.
Yes, which is the mind. Where does the mind come in, okay? Because we all know the mind is a non-physical thing. It's an intellectual understanding of it, but we know it exists. But to say it's produced by the brain, that is not within the Baha'i text. It doesn't produce thought from the brain. It's the soul that produces thought, just like the rays of the sun hit the mirror and can do various things by being reflected in the mirror. But the brain itself, there's an emanation of the soul called the mind. It's the light that comes from that soul, from the sun or from that lamp. It's another analogy. And that particular illumination can be called mind. And it's through that process, working in conjunction with the brain, that we are able to think and to perform all our rational functions. So the mind itself is a light that comes from the sun, which has its effect upon the brain, which enables us to think, do all those intellectual things. But also there's the emanation of the light from the soul, which causes everything to work with our physical characteristics, the autonomic system of the body.
Autonomic system. Yeah. We're using big words in this podcast. Yeah. So you're saying the soul, in one sense, feeds into the mind. Can you elaborate one more point upon the brain before we move on?
I just want to sort of end upon one or two passages from the Baha'i writings, explain it much better than myself. I should have read out this at the beginning. So Abdul-Baha, he says, now regarding the question whether the faculties of the mind and the human soul are one and the same, he says, these faculties are but the inherent properties of the soul, such as the power of imagination, of thought, of understanding, powers that are the essential requisites of the reality of man, even as the solar ray is the inherent property of the sun. The temple of man, that's his body and brain, is like unto a mirror. His soul is as the sun, and his mental faculties even as the rays that emanate from that source of light. The ray may cease to fall upon the mirror, but it can in no wise be dissociated from the sun. And the last one now, and he further explains about this connection between the soul and the mind and the brain. The mind is the power of the human spirit. The mind is the power of the human spirit. The spirit is as the lamp, and the mind is the light that shines from it. The spirit is as the tree, and the mind is the fruit. The mind is the perfection of the spirit, and a necessary attribute thereof, even as the rays of the sun are an essential requirement of the sun itself. So that sums everything up. So to me, when materialists just reduce it to the brain, I think it could be helpful for them to examine more fully these statements of Abdul-Baha and the founder of the Baha'i faith, Baha'u'llah, before they come to conclusions that they come to.
That's a great statement. The mind is the power of the human spirit, right? Wow. Great. Awesome. Let's move on to the next part now. I hope you guys are enjoying this podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We're on all podcast platforms, everything from Spotify to Apple Music to Amazon Music, SoundCloud, and so on. We're on YouTube as well. So like, subscribe, and follow and share this podcast with your friends and family members. And once again, if you are finding this interesting and you like to read my father's book, Navigating Materialistic Minefields, because we're only going through 2 chapters today, then head over to Amazon, can pick up a copy for less than £15, bargain, and you can read more of what Viv is talking about yourself. Viv, let's move on now to the next topic, which is, a lot of people say, and maybe you were saying this yourself before you became a Baha'i and started to begin that journey, that spiritual journey of the Baha'i teachings and of the revelation of the Bab and Baha'u'llah. A lot of people say that human nature is inherently aggressive and that we cannot change human nature because we are just like animals. We are confrontational, we are aggressive, we are exploitive, and so on, and things like this. What do you think about this? And in your book, how do you address this point about that human beings are just aggressive animals?
Yeah, it's such an important question, isn't it? Because, unless we have a higher understanding about our reality, then we're always going to feel that we can't achieve anything other than animal behavior. And as we spoke about before, we are not animals. We are human beings created differently from animals. But I think the main thing that we're into now is that we need to know about ourselves. The ancient philosophers, many of them said that man, know thyself. And in other words, that it's really important to know about how we function, about our reality, and about, the way in which our fashioner has made us so as we can really go through life creating much better happiness for ourselves, for our family, for the community, for the world. In other words, that a proper understanding of our reality can contribute so much to wonderful progress and tranquility and harmony. But I think the starting point for me is that when I read that Baha'u'llah wrote that true loss is for him whose days have been spent in utter ignorance of his self, Imagine that, true loss, if we just go through life in utter ignorance of ourselves. So it's extremely important to realize how we function, how we made, what's our potential. All of this is extremely important so as we can go through life with knowledge rather than ignorance. And another passage from Abdu'l-Baha says, and this just underlines how important this type of knowledge is, he says, the root cause of wrongdoing is ignorance. Root cause of wrongdoing is ignorance. So we are called to know ourselves. And this is what we're looking into in this chapter a little bit. So as we come out of that way of thinking that we are so naturally aggressive that we can't change that at all, we come out of that because there's a distortion of an understanding of our reality.